Drodzy goście,
Dear guests, colleagues from this camp,
Zdzisława Włodarczyk,
I am Zdzisława Włodarczyk, née Bogdaszewska. 78 years ago, together with my parents and my younger brother, we made way to this place, to this sauna. I was 11, my brother was 7. When from the transit camp in Pruszków, we were forced into cattle cars. Somebody on the ramp shouted, "Where are we going?" The answer came, "To the country, near Kraków." We were the first transport from the Warsaw Uprising, from the first days of the Warsaw Rising. It took us very long to get here. My father, all the way long, when we were on the road, would watch through the gaps between the planks in the carriage wall where we were going. One evening we approached some buildings, some developments, and then I heard the voice of despair. It was my father clutching at his head, banging his head at the wall. "God, God, where have we arrived? Where have we arrived?" I also peered through this gap between the planks, and I saw a white board which in black letters read, "Auschwitz." We crossed the gate. The train halted. It was a grinding halt. On the right-hand side of the ramp, there were shouts. They were opening the cars, screaming, "Raus!" Bandits, schnell. These were the first words we heard. Men were separated and women with children went their separate way. We were led along the barbed wire. The walk was long. There were some buildings, a barrack. We were let into that barrack. The ground was covered with chlorine and sand, and the barrack was empty. We were there squatting on the ground all night long. In the morning, Mom said that men were sitting outside by the wall. "Hey, Dad's there." All the day long we spent together. Men were not allowed to enter the barrack. People were looking for friends, for the family, talking one to another, smoking paper money. Late in the afternoon, Mom made me enter the barrack and she stayed with my dad. That was the last time when I saw my dad. On the following day, we were also ushered to the same building, to the masonry building, to the sauna. We had to leave everything we had, undress. We had our hair shorn and we were also shaved. We couldn't recognize one another. We were forced along a corridor to another room. Somebody shouted, "Now they'll let the gas in." There was no gas, however.
na przemian, zimna i gorąca.
There was water, hot and cold alternatingly. There was no soap. There were no towels whatsoever. We were forced to go on.
Ale kobiety już osobno.
But this time women were going separately, and we, the children, went our separate way. We, the women, were thrown colorful dresses.
Szczupła dostała szeroką,
A
wysoka, krótką.
tall one got a short one, a fat girl got one for a slim girl. Then we could exchange them. We children received our clothes.
Które były aż sztywne.
They were rigid from disinfectant.
Ustawiono nas ponownie.
We were lined up again and we were waiting for our numbers. We got them on pieces of clothes. They didn't tattoo us.
Dostała numer.
Mum was given number 85,281.
Dostałam numer następny.
I received the following number.
Dostał
My
90.
brother was now number 192,798.
Dopiero wtedy dostaliśmy
And it was only then that we were given the first piece of bread. A small loaf was quartered for the adults, but we children only got an eighth each.
To był pierwszy nasz posiłek.
That was our first meal here.
Osobno, bez matki.
And then, separately, without our mothers, we were ushered again along the barbed wire to a brick barrack.
Tam były takie klatki.
There were such cubicles,
Zwane koje.
cages. They call them cages. The
Było się, że to była blokowa.
function inmate, we later learned she was the block leader, told us we were supposed to take the upper and the middle cubicle because the bottom one is brick and will be cold. There was one blanket and one straw mattress with the remnants of straw. There must have been 5 or 6 of us there.
Najgorsze były noce.
The nights were the worst.
Dzieci płakały.
Children would cry, would call for their mothers, hungry, calling moms because they were cold.
Ale z czasem te głosy
Yet with time, those voices
nikt nam nie może.
hushed down. They realized that there was nobody who could help us and that no mother could come.
Rano,
In the morning, early in the morning, there were the roll calls. We were hungry, we had no food.
wieczorem apele.
In the evening, there was another roll call. They counted us so long
Zmarły
until all the children who died and who went away were accounted for, and they realized that the number of us alive staying there was the number they arrived at. After the evening roll call, we received this 1/8 part of a loaf of bread, a small bar of margarine, sometimes marmalade, herbal tea or coffee.
z matkami nie wolno się było spotykać.
We were not allowed to be meeting our mothers, talking to them.
Czy początkiem
Later in November, or perhaps early in December, we were moved further, deeper into the camp, into the wooden barracks.
tam były prycze drewniane.
There were wooden
I piec
bunk beds
przez dół
and a stove that ran along the whole block.
czy ogrzać.
But you were not allowed to sit on it or to take any of its warmth.
Z dala było słychać
Time was passing by.
huki armaty.
You could hear cannons roaring in the distance.
się zbliża.
We were saying that the front is coming and that the war is coming to the end.
Niemcy niszczyli to
Germans were destroying the documentation. We could see it. We could see the papers being taken up by the hot flames. The crematoria were being demolished.
ale my czekaliśmy
General turmoil. We were waiting for freedom.
15 stycznia.
On the 17th of January,
Ustawiono nas
1945, we were again lined up for a general roll call.
Dano nam
all camp roll call. We were given double ratio of bread and we were
byliśmy ustawieni.
expected to leave. We stood there block by block, mothers first, and then we were behind them.
I wyruszył.
And that march started.
Myśmy szli za
The procession was going. We were following mothers. An elderly inmate threw away my brother as one who was unfit for being marched. I wanted to notify mother. I started to scream, but mother could not hear that.
Doskoczył do mnie SS-man.
I was
Mnie uderzył.
hit very strongly on my face by an SS officer. I
Tak automatycznie pozostawałam w tyle.
just crouched and I stayed behind. I crouched so that he didn't beat me anymore. I didn't really care what would happen to me. I jumped out from the rank and approached my brother running. I didn't want him to stay alone. That's how we both stayed in the camp. Mum didn't know that.
Była nas większa grupa dzieci.
There was a larger group of children staying there, sick, ailing from the hospital part. There was that Belarusian elderly woman, a true biddy called Janeczka, and she took care of us. She took us to the barrack and she really took us into her care. We were famished, cold. All the inmates were looking for some food for meals. They broke up the food stores. My brother got 2 loaves of bread. He brought them. They were dry. That bread was stale. We slept on that bread. This was a way of keeping guard. And we melted snow in that stove. And in the water we melted from the bread. We dipped pieces of bread. We survived on that bread for nearly 10 days. Until that day came when the front was very close. You could see soldiers running in white overalls, guns in their hands. That Belarusian old lady told us to hide away and never try to leave because the front line was so close. You mustn't die, children. In the evening, 3 military men entered our barrack. One officer, very tall, in a cap that I remembered. I really understood what he said, even if I don't remember whether he spoke Polish or Russian. Children, what are you doing? He was absolutely surprised by what he saw. He said that we should stay in because there is the front line and they can kill us. They brought us a cauldron of tomato soup and that was the first hot meal I had. I heard that there is a group of women and all the girls wanted to leave the camp and to go home. I didn't know where they were going, which way they were taking, but I decided that my brother and I would join them, so to leave this place as quickly as possible. And then early in the morning we left the camp. We walked on foot. There were plenty of dead bodies lying around. There was plenty of snow around. It was very cold. We got a short lift in a farmer's cart. Then there was a military lorry and gave us all a lift and took us to Kraków, to the Red Cross. But we were free. Today, standing here in Birkenau Memorial, I am scared
strony
to
wschodniej
hear what is happening in the east,
jest wojna,
that there is a war going on there,
która wojska rosyjskie
that the Russian armies that liberated us here are now waging war on Ukraine.
dlaczego?
Why?
Dlaczego
Why?
taka polityka jest?
That's what politics is.
Moja mama w marszu przeszła.
Marching, my mother went to Neustadt, then to Ravensbrück, and she returned very sick. Father died. Hensbrück, Flossenburg.
Byliśmy sami.
We were left alone. Thank you.